Hello everybody and welcome to our gameplay video. Today we're playing Skirmish and we just got the Lothal Wastes map in the store. So we're going to be playing a game. We're playing the Fluctuations mission here. In this mission you have 8 fluctuation tokens, which are the 8 colored mission tokens as you see there on the map. And at the end of each round, for each one that a player controls, they gain 1 victory point. And for each one that a player is actually standing on, they gain a power token of that type for that figure. No, you have to be standing on the space. You can't just be adjacent to it. And then, after all that's done, the players get to switch around the tokens. So you get to swap the colors around. Each player gets to do that once at the end of each round. So I'm on the left. I'm playing the Empire. I've got Thrawn, Palpatine, 2 officers, elite riots, and a temporary alliance for Hondo and Greedo, and Zillow technique, rule by fear, and should be extra armor, but we'll get to that in a second. I start off the mission by using rule by fear to draw an extra 2 cards, and I discarded it looks like brace for impact, brace for impact, the 1 point card that adds a black die to the defense. I start off the round by activating my officer, and I move a riot trooper up 2 spaces and then move the officer north towards the objectives. Here we realized that I was missing a card from my list and I had to track it down, pause the video. It was extra armor, so I distribute the block tokens among the unique figures in my list: Palpatine, Thrawn, Hondo, and Greedo. So we played. This is the 3rd game of the night or the day that we had played, and it was only by this mission we kind of figured out we were actually playing it wrong and giving power tokens to any figure that was on or adjacent to those fluctuations. So it got kind of crazy. I really like Matt's maneuver here. He moves 8 spaces after the 4 from Brash and puts it right on my fluctuation closest to me with the damage power token. This makes it really hard to see Ezra and means that he's going to get that token because there's no way I can pull him off of that, and there's no way I'm going to be able to score that point. So I really like this maneuver from Ezra here. And I really think he's one of the few figures that can really move fast enough to get to it. Maybe Ahsoka could do it with like Gideon and her agile ability. So, by the way, Matt has started the game with initiative, but he passed his first activation as I have 7. So I get an idea in my head that I really want to attack Ezra with Greedo. I move Greedo 5 spaces and then move again. The problem is I can't see Ezra with just a single movement, or I can't get line of sight to Ezra. So I double move Greedo, and I'm very careful. I want to keep him out of range of Ezra. I don't want Ezra to just get a free attack on him with Spectre Cell, which would let him move 2. So Matt activates Hera and plays Planning. And I take a bit of an experimental move here. I negate it with my negation. I got this idea in my head that Spectre Cell, they have a hard time drawing command cards. I already have more command cards than Matt, so maybe I'll put some pressure on his hand and cut him off of some command cards. Pro tip though, don't waste your negation on planning if your opponent hasn't played Take Initiative, especially if you're gonna get initiative on the next round. So But you know what? This is a practice game. This is the type of place where you want to make these kind of odd plays and just see how they work out. So, no regrets. Matt activates Kanan. He moves him 8 spaces. Not quite next to the fluctuation there. I activate Thrawn and use Strategize, revealing Planning off the top of my deck, and Heart of Freedom from the top of Matt's deck, and I choose to discard Heart of Freedom. I then give a damage power token to Greedo with Long Laid Plans, or Strategize, excuse me. And my plan here was mostly that move Greedo to have line of sight to Ezra, give Greedo a power token with Thrawn, and then move the Emperor forward and have Greedo attack Ezra. So I move Thrawn 7 spaces. Again, I'm being very careful to keep enough space between my figures and Ezra so Ezra can't get a free attack from Spectre Cell. In hindsight, this may have been too conservative. Pulling Ezra off of that fluctuation might have actually been the better choice for me. It's just that Ezra's attack can be so huge. You really can't afford to take more than one of those. So Matt double moves Zeb 8 spaces to be on the other red fluctuation, which will give him another power token for Zeb. I activate Palpatine. Deciding who I want to tempt here. That extra damage from tempt can be so useful for dealing with these specters, but you just don't want to give them the damage token. So I choose to tempt Chopper. Eventually I know I'll have to deal with him, but by giving him that power token, I know it's not going to be that useful. So I move with Palpatine, I double move, moving 6 spaces to be adjacent to the yellow fluctuation. And then I use my Emperor ability to have Greedo declare an attack against Ezra, spending the power token he got from Thrawn. And Ezra basically gets 3 blocks and a surge cancel. So he takes 1 damage from Greedo's attack. That just kind of shows you how tough Ezra is to deal with. So Sabine double moves to be not quite adjacent to the other yellow fluctuation near Matt's deployment zone, but he is pretty far back. Something to note. I'm activating Hondo here. I move 5 spaces and decide to take a shot at Sabine at range 7. Bit of a long shot for for Hondo. I only get 3. I low roll my accuracy, so I've only got 5 showing total with the surge ability. So that's going to be a miss for Hondo. Matt's only activation here is Chopper. And here he's going to exhaust Spectre Cell to have Sabine perform an attack. And when you use Spectre Cell, you can choose the order you do the movement points in the attack. So Matt is opting to attack first. He attacks Palpatine. Palpatine spends his block power token. And Matt rolls pretty well. He gets the accuracy, the 6 accuracy he needed. Looks like he's got 5 damage and a surge with an extra damage from Spectre Cell. And Palpatine only has 2 blocks. And friendly reminder to Matt that I have Zillow still ready to remove his Pierce. So he spends the surge on +1 damage and blast 1. So it's 5 damage to Palpatine and 1 damage from the blast onto Hondo. And we have a little bit of a discussion on the verbiage of Zillow technique and how exactly it nerfs Sabine. And then Spectre Cell gives Sabine 2 movement points, and he moves her right onto that yellow fluctuation. So she'll be getting an extra power token from that as well. I have the final activation. I choose to double move my Riot onto the green fluctuation. And the other Riot, I move right into the fight to contest the red fluctuation. Now, I could have moved that Riot onto my terminal and the blue fluctuation up in the north. The reason I didn't do that is because in the previous game, I lost pretty badly because I had the Riots doing objective duty, and I really needed their firepower. They have a really good attack as elites, and having just the 4 figures, Palpatine, Hondo, Thrawn, and Greedo, was not enough to handle the Spectres. So that's why I'm keeping those Riots kind of close to the action. So that's the end of round 1. I scored 2 points from the fluctuations, and Matt scores 3 points. And Matt also gets 3 power tokens because of how expertly he placed his figures. And I only get to draw 1 extra card, and Matt gets to draw 2. Remember though, he did spend a card, so he's going up to 4, and I am also going up to 4. So both of our lists have doubt. Matt chooses to get rid of Thrawn's block token, and I end up choosing to get rid of Ezra's power damage token. Initiative moves to me, and of course Matt drew take initiative, and I am completely helpless against it because I wasted my negation. Again, practice game, good to make those kind of mistakes in these kind of games, but definitely not something you want to do in a real game. Matt activates Zeb. He moves 4 spaces to be adjacent to Emperor, now contesting the yellow fluctuation. He uses his bow staff strike ability to make a free melee attack and shows 4 damage against my 2. And I discard a card to Zillow to add a block. I believe it's a officer's training. So I end up taking 2 damage from that because of the extra damage from Spectre Cell. Palpatine going to 7 damage total. He has 6 health left. And now Zeb is making his regular ranged attack. So right now Zeb has exactly 6 damage showing in his attack, which would be enough to defeat Palpatine. I still have 3 command cards in my hand, I believe. No, I have 4 command cards in my hand. So I discard a card, Strengthen Numbers. Still considering it. So the thing to think about is that he still has Spectre Cell ready to go. So after this attack, he'll be able to attack me, the Emperor with Sabine. But I figure that better to make Sabine waste her attack on a 1 health Emperor than let her use it on somebody who's full health. So I spend I discard Strengthen Numbers for Zillow technique, keeping Emperor at 1 health. Matt decides to use Spectre Cell, and he moves Sabine forward, and I use my special tech anti-Spectre Cell card, Brace Yourself. This is a great card that adds +2 damage when you're being attacked outside of the attacker's activation. Really great against Spectre Cell as a card. But you know what? It's actually good against a lot of lists. It's good against Han and his return fire and end of round attack. It's good against Vader and his end of round attack. or if Vader uses Parting Blow when it's not his activation. So this is a card I've actually been seriously testing and has gotten a lot of work for me. So Sabine attacks. She is making a range 5 attack. She's got the range easily, and I roll a lucky 3 block on top of my 2 blocks. And Matt has only 4 damage and 3 surges showing. So I exhaust Zillow here to negate his Pierce 2, which gives him only 5 damage, and that's not going to punch through the defense I put out with Palpatine. So somehow Palpatine survives 3 Spectre attacks with 1 health. That's just kind of how amazing Zillow technique is. So I activate Palpatine and choose to tempt Zeb. My reasoning being that he has no other ways to attack with Zeb for the rest of the round, so I'm safe from that damage power token and free to try and take out Zeb here. So I use Palpatine's Emperor ability to have Hondo attack Zeb, and Matt chooses to pay the 2 victory points to reduce Hondo's attack by 2. And Matt shows 3 blocks with his defense, and Hondo low rolls a bit here. He only has a surge ability for +1 damage, so he is unable to put any damage through to Zeb. But because I got that 4-point victory point swing, that attack was completely worth it. And that's actually one of the synergies of this list, is the combination of Emperor Palpatine and his ability to give extra attacks to Hondo. And that puts a lot of pressure on the opponent to either spend their victory points or just take a ton of damage from that attack. So Palpatine declares a lightsaber attack against Zeb. He gets an automatic Pierce 3, even though he lost that surge. So Zeb takes 2 damage from the lightsaber. And now I'm in a bit of a bind here, because if I can use Force Lightning, but if I do, because Palpatine is adjacent to Zeb, Palpatine will be destroyed by his own lightning. And I actually just realized how incredibly thematic that is. But the other choice is to move Palpatine back into the hallway by my deployment zone and try to protect him. But the problem is that even if he's hidden out of line of sight like that, Sabine can just swing a grenade around the corner and nail him. So I decide that the 3 damage on Zeb is just worth more to me than the life of the Emperor. It's just so hard to damage these Spectres that any damage you can get on them is really valuable. The weaken will also be hopefully valuable here, especially if Zeb lives through the next round. So that gives Matt 8 victory points, going up to 9. So Matt activates Kanan, moves 2 spaces to attack the Riot Trooper. Initially, I was not going to spend the block token, figuring that the Pierce 3 would definitely negate it. But I decided that there's a chance that if I don't, the Riot Trooper dies, and I'm rewarded with a 3 block, so that power token will actually prevent some damage. So Kanan doing +2 damage, Pierce 3 for a total of 5 damage on the Riot. And he stays right on that red fluctuation that Zeb had just moved off of. I activate Thrawn. I look at the top of both players' command decks. And I see a Dying Lunge that I just don't want to deal with later. It's such a powerful card. if I do end up killing Ezra or Kanan. And actually it comes up later where it would have been useful, so I'm glad I got rid of it there. So Thrawn using his strategize to give himself a surge token and Greedo a damage token. Matt pointing out that Ezra now is benefiting from the Ceresu form from Kanan. So Thrawn moves 2 spaces and declares an attack on Zeb, spending the Surge Power token. That enables him to get use out of that amazing +3 damage ability. Zeb only rolls 1 block with +1 from Spectre Cell. So that's 7, doing 5 damage total to Zeb there, putting him at just 4 health left. Thrawn spends his other 2 movement point to move back towards the deployment zone. Basically, I am effecting a tactical retreat here, trying to move away from Spectre Cell. So Matt activates Hera, and he declares an attack targeting the Riot Trooper. Doing 3 damage and killing the Riot Trooper, giving Matt another 3 victory points, going up to 12 against my 4. And she moves back onto the yellow fluctuation that Sabine had been occupying. And just a reminder that Chopper had been activated to pay for Take Initiative. So I activate Hondo here and take my second shot at Zeb for the turn. And Matt announces after the dice that he wasn't intending to pay the victory points to prevent the damage. So even though Matt spent the victory points, Hondo was still able to do exactly 4 damage to Zeb to kill him. And Matt does remember his heroic effort trigger here. It's a bit of a running joke for us on forgetting heroic effort and wondering if it ever mattered anyway. So Hondo moves 5 after that attack, and I am moving him in a beeline to that deployment zone. I want to try and get those victory points. The reason I move him closer to the wall there, just so that Matt's going to have a harder time getting line of sight to Hondo. He's going to have to move a little bit further than he would have had to otherwise. Matt activates Sabine, and she moves 3 spaces towards Hondo, trying to cut him off. And she uses Parting Gift here, dealing 2 damage to Hondo without even declaring an attack. And then she attacks Hondo with Element of Surprise. Hondo spends his block power token. And Matt rolls the wrong dice here. Rolls Hera's dice. There's Sabine's green die. And then a little bit of a disappointing roll there. Doing 4 damage to Hondo here, leaving him at 2 health. So Sabine has 1 movement point left. able to make use of mobile quite well on this map. There's a ton of different types of terrain, most notably the spire up to the north. She can sit in that middle cross and be completely invulnerable to any attacks from non-mobile figures. So Greedo activates, takes a shot at Ezra, spending a power token. Ezra again rolling that double symbol, 3 blocks and a surge cancel. And Greedo is still able to deal a respectable 2 damage through all of that. And the nice thing is that he doesn't have to worry about slow on the draw while attacking Ezra. So Greedo moving 5. Just making sure that I am 5 spaces away from Ezra here. Just doing whatever I can to deny Spectre Cell their attacks. So Matt's final activation is Ezra. And he decides that it's not worth venturing off of that. Oh, actually, Matt is deciding to pass here. Now I activate the officer, knowing that I am immune to Chopper, who is asleep. And officer moves 4 to be next to the terminal and the fluctuation, and plays planning to refill my hand. Then I activate the second officer, who is going to move onto the green fluctuation. And Matt decides to move Ezra to be adjacent to the yellow fluctuation. Not sure why he's not on it. Oh, it's because he did not want to get hit by the riot trooper. And that's probably what I would have done. So that was a smart move by Matt. Riot Trooper moves 8 to take control of the green fluctuation on the east side of the map. So that's the end of round 2. And I control... trying to take control of this map a little more. I have control of 3 fluctuations, and Matt also controls, well, Matt actually controls 4. So both of us use our doubt card. I get rid of the surge token from Hera, which is actually quite valuable on her to get that double surge for Pierce 2. And Matt gets rid of the block power token from Greedo. So initiative comes back to me. Matt uses Brash on Ezra. Well, I think he's having second thoughts here. So Ezra actually moves back onto the red fluctuation. I think he feels quite safe there. I start off by activating Hondo. I'm just trying to get him away from danger. I really need him to stay alive. He's actually quite a good source of victory points here. So Hondo moves 5 over to the spire, and he has a very tight line of sight to Chopper with a range 6 attack. And Matt decides he wants to spend 2 victory points to not give me the +2 damage. And again, Hondo underrolls his accuracy, but despite dealing no damage, easily makes back value through that 4-point victory point swing. Honestly, the only reason that I'm still in this game is because of Hondo's ability and Matt's willingness to pay. I think I have gotten 6 victory points now from Hondo and stolen 6 victory points from Matt at this point. So really the actual score should be 13-18, but that's Hondo. So Matt activating Sabine and uses tools for the job. Big attack here. That's 10 damage showing. So I tip my hand here. I do have tough luck, and I'm contemplating that I could keep Greedo alive here with spending tough luck and a card for Zillow and my. But Matt graciously reminds me that Sabine's just gonna finish off Greedo with a grenade. That's also gonna deal damage to Thrawn anyway. So Matt graciously lets me take back the tough luck doubt play, and that triggers parting shot. Which unfortunately, oh, it does make range. And deals a respectable 3 damage to Sabine. Oh, the only problem is I wasn't trying to deal damage to Sabine right now. And then Matt plays Rebel Graffiti after moving Sabine adjacent to the yellow fluctuation, putting him at 18 victory points. However, getting that damage on Sabine does certainly give me more opportunities. Ezra is proving quite difficult for me to draw a bead on, while Sabine's being a little bit more aggressive. So I activate Thrawn here. I use Strategize to give Thrawn a Surge token and Hondo a Block token. And I also get to add another 3rd power token since it is round 3. Unfortunately, my other combat unit is the Riot, and he is loaded up, so I give a damage power token to the officer. I remember to use long laid plans here to look at the top card of each deck. And I decide to keep the cop card on top of Matt's deck, and then because I know I want to discard it, I use Foresee. So I had Take Initiative in my hand, and I wanted to get rid of the negation. But I got rid of the Force Push because I knew that was going to really come to bite me. So, actually, I think I didn't have Take Initiative, so I got rid of the Force Push for that reason. Thrawn moves up and declares an attack on the now damaged Sabine using the Surge token. And I use Element of Surprise to remove her white die. And thanks to Thrawn's innate +2 accuracy, he's able to make the range and deals 5 damage to Sabine. Oh, except that Matt has his own copy of Tough Luck with Doubt, removing my blue die and taking away the critical accuracy I needed, and reducing that 5 damage down to 0. Thrawn then moves towards my deployment zone. Again, I'm just trying to create distance between myself and the Spectres. Riot Trooper moves 4 spaces and declares an attack on Chopper. That Spectre Cell defense is hard to break through. Riot Trooper only able to deal 1 damage to Chopper, but also deals him a strain and a weakened condition. Matt decides to take the strain as damage, putting a Chopper at 2 health left. The main reason I did that was I didn't want Chopper to come out and use Ram against Hondo. So Chopper instead decides to attack the Riot Trooper, who spends his block token, dealing 3 damage thanks to the power token given to him by Tempt on the first round. And then Chopper uses System Shock since the Riot Trooper is adjacent to a terminal. And I decided to discard a card for the strain, which turns out to be On the Lam, which is pretty unfortunate because that would have been a great card with Hondo to dodge an attack and then sprint into Matt's deployment zone. And Matt decides to use Spectre Cell here for the round, he was attacking with Ezra here, but I think he rolled the wrong dice. Ezra declared an attack on Thrawn. Should have been rolling 2 yellow and a green. Thrawn gets a lucky triple block here. And therefore only takes 2 damage from Ezra's attack by exhausting Zillow technique. So I activate my officer, who has nothing better to do but to move 2 spaces and take a pot shot at Ezra. Ezra rolls a blank and still takes nothing. I actually ended up being 1 accuracy short, but even if I had main range, that wouldn't have done any damage because of Ezra's innate +2 blocks. Matt activates Hera and declares an attack, a long-range attack against the officer, who but does not make range. Looks like that was a range 8 attack. I'm actually surprised Hera has line of sight to the officer from there. Officer decides to return fire and spend that power token. Once again, I am just 1 accuracy short of making the attack. And then the officer has Hondo move 2 spaces closer to Matt's deployment zone. Matt activates Kanan, moving him 8 spaces north, seemingly abandoning the fluctuations to keep up with my figures. And that is the end of round 3, going into round 4. Looks like we both control 2 fluctuations, so 2 victory points each, allowing me to just barely keep my tiny lead here going into round 4. We actually remember here that we're allowed to switch these, so I just decided to move these around, wanting to get maybe a damage power token for the Riot. Matt decides he's fine with the fluctuations where they are. Just a note that Doubt should actually not be depleted because I undid the usage of it. So the initiative token passes back to Matt. We remember we were supposed to pull off the weaken token from Chopper. Matt uses Doubt to remove looks like a block token from the Riot Trooper. So my doubt should still be available to me, but there aren't any power tokens for me to remove. So here I drew my take initiative, but of course Matt had negation. Matt choosing to keep Ezra where he is, adjacent to Thrawn. And once again, I am thwarted in my attempts at taking the initiative. So Matt activates Ezra, declaring an attack against Thrawn. And another 3 block. I've been getting pretty lucky this game with the dice rolls. So Thrawn taking 5 damage here, going to 7. I think he rolled 2 greens again. Shame on you, Matt. So Matt moves Ezra, trying to cut off Thrawn's escape, basically. So now Thrawn's only choice is to, if he wants to attack, is to stay within range of Ezra or move into sight of Sabine. Although I could move deeper into my own deployment zone. Thrawn actually has 6 damage on him. Next to Zillow technique. So I choose to activate Thrawn and discard Pummel from the top of Matt's deck. I use Veteran Instincts. Oh, actually I use Thrawn's Strategize, which is the start of his activation. Getting 4 tokens to give to my, I believe, 5 remaining figures. I give a damage power token to Hondo, block power token to the officer, surge power token or evade power token to the other officer, and a surge power token to the officer. Then I play Veteran Instincts, giving a surge and a block power token to Thrawn. So instead of attacking, making a useless attack, and then getting killed on the counterattack, Thrawn double moves to get as far away from possible as Ezra and still be out of sight from Sabine and Hera. I just have to make sure to stay away from that terminal and move on to the fluctuation, because if I move next to the terminal, I'd be within system shock for a chopper. Matt activates Kanan, moves up and declares an attack on Hondo. I play Run for cover to remove one of Kanan's die, and also spend a block token. And here, remember, I still have Doubt and Tough Luck. Thank you, Matt, for letting me do that. And I remove the other green die, leaving Kanan with just 2 damage symbols showing, and completely nerfs an attack. Hondo activates. And I'm in a bit of a conundrum here, because if I could double move to get into the deployment zone, but if I do that, then Hera just moves and attacks twice with Spectre Cell. So instead I decide to claim my real prize, which is Chopper. Hondo declares an attack on Chopper. Matt chooses not to spend the victory points. I use Tools for the job. And Matt plays Protect the Old Ways using Kanan. I remind Matt that he can wait to play that card until after dice I roll, but Matt decides he's just going to use it anyway. And that is definitely a dead chopper, giving me 3 victory points, going to 24. So now all I have to do is not lose any figures and not let Matt control all the fluctuations. Now I am having to figure out where I want to move. Where Hondo is now, he is in danger of being attacked by Kanan with the Spectre Cell upgrade. If he moves to the right though, then Hera will be able to see him. And the other issue is that Sabine can also double move and put a grenade on Hondo. So I take my chances with the long shot from Hera rather than the grenade from Sabine. Unfortunately, this is going to be the end of the journey for Hondo, who is not going to be able to make it into the deployment zone. Although I didn't say he'd be defeated. So Matt activates Sabine, declares an attack on my officer, and overwhelming, devastating attack. KOs the officer. So that's 2 points for Matt. And now Matt uses Spectre Cell to attack my 2 health Riot Trooper with Kanan. Just kind of cleaning up the board here. There, that's the correct dice. Riot Troopers defeated, and that pulls Matt ahead in victory points, 25 to my 24. And he seals it with a Rebel Graffiti on Sabine. So I move my officer, but even with that play, I'm only going to be getting 2 victory points at the end of the round potentially, and Hera sees to it that that officer does not survive. So Matt goes to 29 and then plays Rebel Graffiti to go up to 31. So that was the game. I think I'd held out pretty well there. Hondo, Matt definitely put me in the lead there by paying victory points to Hondo. I think a little more than he should have, but in the end I was just overwhelmed by Spectre Cell's beefiness. So the quest to find a counter to Spectre Cell continues. Hey everybody, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the game and the commentary. We'll see you back. Please join us again for our next video. Okay, bye.